this subject here, slave research, there's 3 parts to it. We can get through those 3 parts. The first one has to do with, you put together a series of questions about slave research. I'll try to answer those. And then we'll talk about how can you identify the last slave owner of yours ancestors. Then secondly, how you go about substantiating that, confirming. Looking at the question, someone asked the question, how you locate slaves if their last name changed? Very simple question. Slaves were commodities, no last names, so therefore they didn't have any last name to change. Only the owners changed. Now, there's always exceptions to everything. I have seen the case, particularly on ship manifest that contains slaves, and it did include the slave's last name. Now, I'm not sure what the anomaly was, but yes, there are exceptions to every case. But by and large, slaves are commodities, no last name, first name's only. Second question, how do you find slaves who were sold several times? In order to find the movement of slaves, you have to research the slave's owner and any document that owner may have created that has to do with acquisition, or documents that recorded movement of assets, wills, sheriff sales, bill of sales, church records, perhaps, but anything that has to do with that owner and him selling of his goods. That's how you have to track, and that's how you can track. Slaves in bondage. Here's a particular diagram I put together. This particular one that is on my mother's side. My mother's maiden name is Black. And I got lucky. South Carolina has some pretty good records when it comes to slave records. And I was able to track, okay, this particular ancestor. And the one I was tracking was my name is Cheney. Okay? My great-grandfather's mother's name was Cheney. Okay? And I was able to chase Cheney going all the way back to 1797. And how do I track her? I track with these documents, okay? Wills, deeds, bill of sale, will, okay? And I started out, they got out of slavery in Tennessee, Fayette County, Tennessee. And I located several bills of sale in Fayette County, Tennessee that involved the blacks. Found out that Cheney was a part of that. Found out that blacks also, the lady did, received Cheney as a gift from her father. And that turned out to be a bill of sale. First, it was a bill of sale here, okay? But then I chased Cheney back in a will where when she died, she left Cheney to her kids. And there was some friction between the kids in terms of what to do. So they agreed to sell Cheney, they sold Cheney. Okay? That was a bill of sale. I also went back and found that there was a will that included Cheney from Jane Black and her heirs. Go back again, I found in South Carolina, because I chased Jane Black back to South Carolina, I found out there was William Pendennon that had an issue going on with the sheriff. Someone owed him some money. The chef commandeered this guy's belongings and sold them. This guy bought them. There was a dispute in terms of whether or not he had a right to buy them or not. He left a bond that he wanted Cheney purchase and go to his daughter as a wedding gift, okay, in case he lost the suit. So I tracked that one back. I also looked at the wills that involved Cheney, her daughter, Sylvia, Hannah, her mother, and Luke, okay, a spouse, of which was Cheney's daughter. And I was able to find them in wills going back, okay, to 1797 period. So, to answer your question, yes, you can chase slaves in bondage. But to do that, you have to track the records of the owner. The last question is, can you chase your ancestors back to where they came from in Africa? If they came from Africa, the answer to that question is yes, but very difficult. Okay? And I know of a couple ways you possibly can do it. One is theoretically, but I'll take the easy one first. Do a DNA test, okay? that DNA test will take your current genealogical path and test it against a database from Africa to see if you got a match. And I happen to do that. The results are up there on the page. Okay? But it doesn't necessarily turn out to be that clean with everybody all the time. But you can do that. You can jump stop here and there. And again, I tell people, what you get from that test is dependent upon what database they're comparing it to. If they have no, or they have a very small number of African samples, this is the database they're comparing against, the chances of finding a match is small. So keep that in mind. The other way is yes, you can, because when our ancestors were transported from Africa, they came on ships, and those ships had manifests. And manifest simply says what cargo are you carrying. And yes, if you got diligent and you find a member, ancestor that you chased through slavery, to where the initial ownership of that strand of your family got it from Africa, yes, theoretically you can. You keep tracking them back, keep tracking ships manifest, where one may have cargo designated to him. And the interesting thing I found out here is that most of the cargo African slaves came into Virginia, in that area, and then they were transported to South Carolina, Georgia, and also Louisiana, okay, and also into Mobile. So the initial dropping off points were not those southern locations, but further up north and later transport via sail or whatever to some of the southern ports. Here's an example of a ship manifest, and the only reason I use this example, because on the manifest you have a ship from location, which happens to be Savannah, and then you have a ship to location right here. Charleston, yeah. Okay. And here are the owners of the cargo, okay, listed right here. And here are the names over here, and the sex. So if you could change your relatives with their owner all the way back to where someone got off the ship, theoretically, yes, you can trace them back to Africa. Okay. Difficult, but you can. And most of the slave cargo did not come directly to the U.S. mainland. Most of them went into Brazil and the islands, and then from there into the mainland.